Welcome back to another episode of Legacy Discussions, where we leave legacies and not liabilities. I am your host, Tayisha Beard, and wanted to thank you all for subscribing to our channel. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please do so now. I'll give you a few moments. Hope you did it. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, so let's get into it. I've been getting asked about doing a video on where to find properties. So I'm going to talk about the different A class, B class, and C class properties and where you can find these opportunities. So I did a video a few months ago about A-tier properties. That's going to be your high-end upscale areas. Where there's $1 million properties, 750,000 and up, right? And properties. And then your B class is going to be that mid-range, 500,000 to maybe 300,000. And then anything below that starts to get into your C and D class. The C class is my niche. That is where I thrive. I go into undesirable areas and try to revitalize those areas. So I'm not afraid of a fixer-upper. I'm not afraid of going into a property that is blighted. If I see the vision for it and I know that that area has opportunity to be gentrified or to be revitalized to where we can rebuild it, keep our community there, and not run everybody off with making it too expensive to where it's unaffordable. So I go into those C-class areas and I buy properties. And some of them are, if you look at it, you will probably run away, not walk away. You probably run away from them. But those are the properties that I like to work on. Those are the properties where I could look at it. I can see the vision. I do some market research, which I think is very important. Don't just go and buy it because it's ugly, the ugly houses, right? Don't just buy it because it's in a neighborhood where you grew up. Kind of get some background on that area. Now, if you grew up there, then you know the type of people that live there. You know the opportunity in that market or on that street per se. But then also I encourage you to go to local and citywide meetings to where they're talking about different projects that they're making or creating for that particular market or that particular parish. And then you try to follow that, right? It's like you're getting ahead of the gentrification or you're getting ahead of the project, which means you can catch it at a lower price. That also means that you have an opportunity to get it while maybe there's not a lot of people interested in it. So the prices are low. You can probably get better insurance and you get to set the tone for the market. It's just like I remember buying a property in an area where this developer had already started doing some renovations and developing properties there. And I kind of followed suit because of that, right? You don't want to go into an area where they're building a certain type of house or, they're making certain types of renovations and you come in with something less than that. You have to know the market and you have to kind of run the rules on whatever that market is trending to look like. So find your niche and find out what areas or if it's A, B, or C class properties that you are looking to invest in, and you stay in that lane. You master that lane. That is what I've mastered. That is what I've continued to thrive in. I've put some really good tenants in there because in a lot of those areas, you may have some investors that come in, but they're not fixing the properties. They're what we know as slumlords. They're putting anybody in the properties. They're not doing their due diligence on what's your credit look like. Can you afford to live here? Will you take care of my investment? That is so important because if you're moving a tenant in, you are giving them the green light to get the key to your property, and you need to know how they're going to treat your property. It's your investment at the end of the day. So even if you have to evict that tenant, or even if it's, something where they're damaging the property, you need to get rid of them, you got to have an idea about who you're putting in your property, who you're approving as a tenant in your properties. So just keep in mind that when you're going into the C class, D class properties, it's going to be probably a rougher area. The credit's going to be a little rough as well. The income is going to be light. So you have to know and understand how that market works. Now, in addition to the income, you can always get subsidized housing, right? Or subsidized rent in terms of Section 8. And there's other programs that's out there that would offer supplemental payments to your tenants to help them pay for their rent. So that's good for you because now you know that you get guaranteed rent. Still, if you're accepting Section 8 tenants, you still can interview those tenants to see if it's a good opportunity for that tenant to move into your property. They may be good for somebody else. Hey, multipliers, it's Tayisha Beard, inviting you to the Legacy Summit 2026. It's going to be April 25th of next year at the Gonzalez Pace Center in Gonzales, Louisiana. If you've been to the Legacy Summit 2025, this one is going to be next level. We have a tax strategist that's going to teach us for 2 hours how to save hundreds of thousands of dollars that I have in my taxes for having real estate. And then we're also going to have an AI professional there that's going to tell you how to scale your business and use AI for efficiency. We have a panelist of women developers, and there's going to be so much more. So now is your time to get your early bird tickets at www.mylegacysummit.com. Early bird tickets are on sale through October 30th. After that, you can still go to mylegacysummit.com to get your general admissions or VIP tickets. If you are a sponsor and would like to sponsor us, there's packages for sponsors. And if you want to be a vendor at the summit, also go to mylegacysummit.com to get all your information about becoming a vendor. They may not be good for you. Keep your standards. You don't have to lower your standards just because it's a C-class market. Don't believe the hype. Have I had some tenants that were not so kind to the property? Yes. Have I had some tenants that didn't make their payments on time? Yes. Have I had some tenants that I probably skipped some steps because I was tired of the property being vacant? Yes, all of that has happened. But you live and you learn. And a lot of those problems happen in the beginning, especially when it comes to doing due diligence. There were times where I didn't care about what their credit was. If they can afford to pay there, they had a stable job, then I would move them in. Not calling and doing a background check on, their prior work history. How many jobs have they had, right? If you see somebody that's consistently turning over to a new job every 6 months to a year, probably going to have some challenges with making a payment. So you have to review all those different things. Don't overlook it. I promise you, how you start it is how it ends. Don't overlook those red flags of knowing if somebody is going to be a good tenant for you or not. Now, are there some that's deceiving? Yes, there are some that's deceiving. It's just like an interview. You get the best version of that person when you interview them for the first time. Job interview, same thing. You're going to get the best version of that person. They're not going to tell you all the things that they don't want and don't like and don't do at the interview because they want the job. Same with the tenant. They're not going to tell you that I'm going to damage your house. I'm not going to pay you rent. All of that's going to be a facade. So you got to look past what they're telling you and look at the facts. I'm looking at your credit history. The score, they're not going to have a 700 or 800 probably in a C-class area. There's some that do. So don't discriminate when it comes to that. But likely I'm looking for the history. What's the history? Are you making your car payments if you have a car? Do you have any prior evictions? And if that's a yes, like all of that is red flags. Don't overlook those things. I would rather have a vacant property for 2 or 3 months waiting on the right person to rent my unit, or even having a discounted a little bit for the right person, opposed to getting max capacity as far as rent goes, right? Maximum rent, and getting a tenant that I didn't do my due diligence that's moving into my property that's going to damage it. I guarantee you the rent that you collect, the deposit that you collect will not be enough to pay you back for any repairs that happen if you get a tenant that's going to damage your property. From the walls to the floors to the yard to, whatever else in your property that they can damage. I've had that happen before, where it was, $1,000, $2,000 deposit, but I'm spending $5,000 to fix it up for the next person to move in. So you just can't pass up the red flags. Now, there are opportunities for you to recoup some of your money back, but it is going to have to go through the legal system. So you have to go to court and file first of all, you got to get them evicted. If they already moved out, then you don't have to worry about it, but you got to get them evicted if they're still there, which is a process. And depending on the state that you're in, some states are tenant friendly. So it's not as easy to have somebody removed from your property. Louisiana, the state that I'm in, it can be a matter of 2 to 3 weeks before somebody is, to be out of your property. It has to go through the courts, as I mentioned, but to try to get your money back, you got to go back to court for that. So you can get that person evicted, but you have to go back to court in order to file a small claims court case, right? A small claims case against that person to recoup your money back. So it is a process. So just keep all of that in mind. You can move them in real fast, not doing your due diligence, and then have to pay all of this money and go through all of this time and heartache and trying to recoup your money back to repair your property to its standard, way of being, right? But I would say if you're not wanting to experience that type of work and labor of having to interview the tenants with this type of credit and income, then maybe a C-class property is not where you want to play. If you're looking for the high end, make a lot of money, 6-7 figures type of person, then you may want to go up to an A-class or even a B-class, which is kind of that middle of the road. So just know what you want, know the areas where you want to invest in, and that's going to determine how well and how successful you are. I don't play in that A-tier space, right? Because yes, you can get more rents. It's going to cost you more. For one, the property is going to cost more. The insurance is going to cost more. Yes, you can command more rents in those types of areas, or you can even do a Airbnb play. However, if somebody's out of that property or that property is vacant for a month, 2 months, 3 months, like I was talking about in some of those C-class areas, it's going to cost you a lot more out of your pocket to keep up with the expenses, the monthly expenses for that property if nobody's in there. So just take all of that into consideration. So you would likely need more reserves put away for an A or B tier property compared to a C-class. So if you would like more information about the different types of classes of properties, or if you're interested in saying, Tayisha, I want to invest at a C-class property because it's less out of money, less expenses, less overhead, I can show you how to do that. Follow me for more details. I'm on all social media platforms. And then you can also subscribe to our channel so you can get more information about how to become a responsible investor. Thank you for watching the show. I'll see you next time on the Legacy Discussions podcast.